Misinformation is a virus unto itself, and lies sound like facts to those who've been conditioned to misrecognize the truth. Coming up, well, as some of you might know, our 49 white Afrikaners who left South Africa under the refugee status have been welcomed with warm hands in the US of A. So I'm saying warm hands, of course, compared to any refugee you could think of in anywhere in the world.
Welcome. Welcome to the United States of America. It is such an honor for us to receive you here today. This is the land of the free, and we know that all of you have faced... I'm Chris Landau. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the Deputy Secretary of State of the United States. This is my friend Troy Edgar.
Yeah, I'm the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. And again, welcome. It's so great to have you guys here.
I know you've gone through a long flight. I cannot believe there are babies and children who are actually so well behaved. This is much better than mine are. So bless you for that. And you know, I think it's so happy. It makes me so happy to see you with our flag in your hands, and that flag symbolizes liberty for so many of us. Many of us, our families have had a journey not that different from the journey that you are embarking on today. My own father was born in Europe and had to leave his country when Hitler came in the 1930s and made his way to South America first and then eventually to the United States. So he is an immigrant who actually, you know, was able to benefit from the many blessings of this country. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to go and work for the government is because I wanted to give back to this country that really brought freedom to my family and allowed us to escape a very difficult situation in another country. So, you know, I know that this is going to be, you know, any adjustment in life, any change takes a while to get used to. But I want you all to know that you are really welcome here and that we respect what you have had to deal with these last few years. We respect the long tradition of your people and what you have accomplished over the years. And I am sure that you will be successful. It's, as you know, a lot of you, I think, are farmers, right? When you have quality seeds, you can put them in foreign soil and they will blossom, they will bloom. And we are excited to welcome you here to our country where we think you will bloom, and we will hopefully allow you to have fulfilling lives for your children, and then we will bloom and we will benefit alongside you. So thank you very much for coming here.
Yeah. I'd like to add, again, on behalf of President Trump, Secretary Noem, we're just so grateful that you guys are here. You know, everybody within DHS, we've been so excited to be able to get you guys here to process, to vet, everything, so you guys get a really warm start. After all I was tracking your flight, 12 hours that you were last night. I'm like, oh my God. So thank you for just the patience of being able to get here. Very similar to Chris, as our Secretary Landau, is that my wife came from Iran. Same thing, persecution from Christianity. And she's come here. She now speaks 5 languages. She's a school teacher. She's a great American story. And we're so grateful. I think Chris and I both just wanted to come and make sure that we greet you guys, we meet you, give our contact information to you. And if there's anything that we could do, we just want to welcome you personally. We look forward to, after this, to be able to spend a little bit of time with you and get to talk to you guys. So thank you guys.
What I found so fascinating, though, is that the American diplomats who welcomed these Afrikaners started relaying their own stories of being refugees themselves. Christopher Landau, of course, telling us that, his family ran away from Hitler, from Europe, and came first to South America, and of course ended up in the US of A. All right. And of course, Troy Edgar also telling us of his wife who ran away from the Middle East, was running away from the Christians. All right. Well, as true as those refugee stories as may be, or as they may be, the only difference is that the story in front of them, the guys in front of them, don't even fit the refugee status, because these whites are just riding on the cloud of lies that there is a genocide happening in South Africa where white farmers are being killed and having their land taken away from them. Really. Now, let's quickly listen to Bill Frelick from Human Rights Watch. These are the guys who deals with refugees all over the world. And these are the guys who do proper investigation, something Trump refuses to do. Check this out.
Joining us now is Bill Frelick, the head of the Refugee and Migrants Rights Division at Human Rights Watch. Bill, welcome to the NewsHour.
Good to be here.
So President Trump was asked about the classification of these families as refugees. Here's what he had to say about conditions in South Africa.
It's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa.
White farmers being brutally killed, their land being confiscated. What do you make of these allegations of white genocide, as the president has said, as we know Elon Musk has said before, and the classification of these families as refugees?
Yeah. Well, this is not factually supported from any of the information that we've seen. The expropriation law that you mentioned only came into effect in January, and it is stated that it is for non-compensation for private land that would go into public hands if that land has been unused, if there's nobody living and working on that land or developing it. And so far, of course, none of that land has actually been taken. So there have been homicide rates that are high rates in South Africa. I think it was like 13,000 in 2023, but only single digits were farmers that were killed. Now, you don't want anyone to be killed, and I don't want to disparage any one person's story, but we don't have the phenomenon of people fleeing the country as we do with refugees all over the world. There are about 38 million refugees in the world who, by definition, are people who've crossed an international border because they're fleeing persecution, they're fleeing war, they're fleeing conflict. And there are no Afrikaner refugee camps. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees didn't refer any South Africans of any background, of any race, of any language for resettlement in the last year. So this is something really new and different from anything we've seen.
Now, exactly my point. It doesn't make sense to me too. I think I totally agree with Bill. If indeed there was genocide, if indeed there was a persecution of white people and the land taken from them, why would others go and others remain? That's my point. Why would the same AfriForum that peddled this whole thing chose to remain? Khalid Kriel is remaining. He said, no, me, I'm remaining here with my family. Why? If there was a real genocide, it doesn't make sense.
Those people who are being enticed to go to the United States do not fit the definition of a refugee. A refugee is someone who has to leave their country out of fear of political persecution, religious persecution. They don't fit that bill. They don't fit that description. And I had a conversation with President Trump on the phone, and he said, what's happening down there? And I said, President, what you've been told by those people who are opposed to transformation back home in South Africa is not true. And I added to him, I said, we were well taught by Nelson Mandela and other iconic leaders like Oliver Tambo on how to continue to build a united nation out of the diverse groupings that we have in South Africa. We're the only country on the continent where the colonizers came to stay, and we have never driven them out of our country. So they are staying, and they're making great progress. It's a fringe grouping that does not have a lot of support, that is anti-transformation and anti-change, that would actually prefer to see South Africa going back to apartheid type of policies.
And after Cyril has spoken to Trump, and Cyril relayed everything to Trump, telling him what is actually transpiring in South Africa. Then later, Trump still chose to speak like this.
Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess, a G20 meeting there or something. But we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about. And I don't care who they are. I don't care about their race, their color. I don't care about their height, their weight. I don't care about anything. I just know that what's happening is terrible. I have people that live in South Africa. They say it's a terrible situation taking place.
Clearly, one can see that this thing has got nothing to do with genocide. This Trump stunt has got nothing to do with South Africans killing white farmers and there is a political agenda that Trump is trying to pull here. I mean, we all know that America has got globally acclaimed investigators who could in few hours discover exactly what is happening in South Africa. But Trump chooses to turn a blind eye in all that, and he sticks to his guns, just after Cyril told him what is actually happening in South Africa.
Max Dupree, it's good to have you on the show once again, and we'll talk about the low point perhaps this is marking in South Africa's diplomatic relations with the United States. But just initially, your thoughts about the 49 Afrikaners who are now in the United States as refugees.
Let me kick off, Collie, by saying I watched your interview with Collie Creel. I found what he said utterly despicable. He should be ashamed. His family should be ashamed of him. He was playing this populist thing of farm murders. He refused to acknowledge that there is no genocide. He kept on talking around and actually shifting the blame. I thought it was despicable. He's become a bit of a Karl Niehaus nowadays, old Cully. I think the 49 refugees is the height of absurdity. And I think every South African who watches this knows there is no genocide. Ek is 'n Afrikaner myself. There is no genocide. We are not being persecuted. Most of us live a privileged life. We have a constitution with a Bill of Rights in which it says you are not allowed to discriminate on the basis of race. We have the Human Rights Commission. We have equality courts. We have an open society. We have a free media. This is just fantasy. And I don't think it's about us. Frankly, Collie, I think this is about Trump's America. They have declared a war against diversity, equality, and inclusion, DEI, as they call it, which our version of that is affirmative action and black empowerment.
Yeah.
And they're grabbing that to demonize us as if in any reasonable person's mind, after 300 years of colonialism and 50 years of apartheid, we could just sit back and say, let the natural forces, the market forces run with it. We had to do something to build on the ashes of the past.
Yeah.
But Trump doesn't understand it, and he's aided, like Simon said, aided by Elon Musk and Joel Pollak and other ex-South Africans who maybe had unhappy childhoods in South Africa.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that they did. But I did, let me tell you, I had 3 interviews this morning with British and European television stations. And it's kind of predictable what I was going to say and so on. And then I suddenly realized they don't really believe me. They kept on asking, but why would Trump do this if there's no genocide? Why would Trump do this if farmers, white people don't get their land taken away? And that's the damage it has done. It's demonized our country. It's damaged our country. And AfriForum and Solidarity should take a large part of the blame. Not these 49 people. They must be struggling. I'm sorry for them. tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of white people and Afrikaners have emigrated. So they could have gone to either the United States or Australia or New Zealand, but they are struggling. They're not successful human beings here. And so they become partly economic migrants, but partly, I suspect, and I don't know any of them, partly, I suspect, an unwillingness to live in a non-racial democracy.
There we go, guys. You heard it yourself. There is no white genocide in South Africa. There is no white people's or white farmers' land that's being taken from them. Please, what do you think? Let me hear your comment below. And of course, if you're coming for the first time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.